About a couple months ago, a mutual friend gave me a call and said, "You have to meet my friend Kareem." And I get that a lot, and it's rare when the effort is worth the time. Kareem Webb is an extraordinary human being with an extraordinary personal story, an extraordinary business story, who is taking his business success and the values he's learned from his family to launch a new vehicle within the social justice program to turn a nonprofit element into a very profitable, but at the same time giving back to the community. It's my pleasure today to welcome Kareem Webb. So Kareem, a lot of people here will be interested about your personal story, so I'd like you to give these folks a little bit of an overview of your background, a little bit about your mom and dad growing up, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm a really blessed guy in general, but I think when you take into consideration the probable outcome of African American men, young men, I'm really fortunate. Both my parents were raised in single-parent households, raised by women. Graduated from Dorsey Emmanuel, South LA. And then my dad, after being in the military, coming home in the early 70s, kind of at a booming time in McDonald's, got a job at McDonald's and ended up matriculating and becoming a vice president. When I was 11 years old, came in my room and said, "Son, you can never inherit my job, but you can someday inherit my business." Cashed in his stock and became a McDonald's franchisee. So now they have like 17 units in the San Gabriel Valley and Inland Empire. Grew up doing that, all the hard jobs.
I guess your dad was like my dad. You did not start at the executive level.
No, I started before. I mean, when people were shocked seeing me in the drive-thru, like something ain't right. This is illegal. But learning the business and having respect for young people who are working shoulder to shoulder with me, befriending them, recognizing that we're all the same, and kind of going home and getting an MBA at the dinner table with respect to the P&L and running the business and philanthropy and all of the things that were really the values that were espoused in our house. And that led me to after school and kind of looking to do something different, having an opportunity to become a franchisee of Buffalo Wild Wings, which is what I do now, and have 4 units in Southern California.
So your day job is back of the house cooking chicken wings?
Yeah, no. So the day job is now, we're kind of dialed in. I think we're committed to a little bit more growth. We're in the Crenshaw district in the South Bay, 2 stores, Farmington, Carson, and Koreatown. We're going to be in Inglewood, we'll be in Long Beach, and we'll see what happens in terms of growth there. But it's pretty dialed in. We've got a really good team, and the fact that it's dialed in is lending itself for me to potentially dive into the opportunity that we're talking about today.
So let's talk just about it as a businessman and not as an African American or a member of an ethnic group or a minority. It takes a lot of courage to go into a neighborhood like that, in Crenshaw and Inglewood, et cetera. There's additional risk factors associated with your business plan. So let's talk a little bit about that additional risk and why you felt it was worth taking that risk to serve that community.
Well, it's interesting. You've all kind of heard of the idea around blue ocean or blue water theory and underserved markets. And so in underserved markets, there's definitely an opportunity. But there's also a skill set. So, if you're not culturally competent, don't understand how to operate there, then it can be tough. And if you don't understand what you're going up against, then you're not going to make business decisions and negotiate from a perspective that is going to allow you to get successful. An example of that would be in the Crenshaw district, I spend $200,000 a year security. I have none in Torrance, and very little in Koreatown or Carson. So if I don't price that $200,000 in security into my rent, then I'm going to be at a competitive disadvantage. Or I know that the product mix is going to be different. People are going to be a lot more sensitive around price because average household incomes are lower and people's sensibilities are different. So if I don't price that into my considerations, then my P&L is going to be off, and I'm not going to be competitive or meet my bank covenants or all of the things that as an entrepreneur you have to be aware of.
You mentioned a term that I think is really profound, cultural competency. What does that mean to you? Does that mean that you have to be African American to understand an African American community? Does it mean that you have to be Latino to work in a Latino community? Or can a Latino with cultural competency, that's how you define it, be a successful businessman or woman in an African American community and vice versa?
I think it's a little tricky. I mean, like, I could never tell you what sweet potato pie tastes like. You gotta taste it, right? Or you can never tell me what it feels like to have sand between my toes. You can tell me I could get it, but until I have sand between my toes, it's not gonna happen. Somebody were to talk to you about being called the N-word, until you're African American and descendant of slaves, have, the legacy and the history that you know from your parents and your grandparents, really can't really understand what that feels like. So, there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. And I think that the ability to hold people accountable comes from trust. So, I don't think that you have to be African American to employ, do business in African American communities and authentically engage in ways that are healthy for that community, or Latino or Asian or anything else. No, but I do think that you have to operate from the perspective of adding value and developing trust. And I think it's the best way to do business in any scenario. So I think that's universal. And as entrepreneurs and capitalists, which is quintessentially American, I just think it's the best approach.
Sure. And that makes complete sense. So we move from cultural competency to the capital T bold word, trust.
Yeah.
In business, serving a community, whether it's your consumers or your customers, your employees, your executive team. Let's talk a little bit about how that trust is developed, because that's a skill.
Yeah.
And you also have to have the DNA to create that trust.
Yeah. Well, I think, it starts with your why, right? So people can believe in the why something exists, right? And so if we can't get aligned on our why, then it's going to be very difficult for me to hold you accountable, and it's going to be difficult for you to hold me accountable. So as a leader, it starts with the recognition in my business or anything I'm a part of is that God made us all the same, right? Just because there's an owner behind my title, and you might be, spinning wings or doing something else, that has nothing to do with your value. So if we agree upon that, then it's my responsibility to fulfill my role in a way that's consistent with what we agree is the why. And it's your responsibility to fill your role, right? And to create whatever you want for yourself in your life. And that's good. I'm an entry-level employer. It's not about you necessarily being here forever. There's a path to a career in life, yes, but as long as you are fulfilling your role in a way that is consistent with what's in the best interest of this initiative, which is the company, right, or any other initiative, then I think we all win.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're working hard, successful family, successful business, a number of different operating vehicles. You got a lot on your plate, right? Yeah. And you're a successful guy. Let's talk a little about this new challenge that you've created for yourself to take on. First of all, why? Why is that why? When you have already achieved, why do you want to take another risk in this very challenging environment, very challenging industry, and dealing with very challenging potential licensors, and then risk your time, your capital, your brand, your reputation along the way? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, at some point during my journey, you know, it was like, get to have a business that's a little bit away from the family, do my own thing. I don't think my friends, Michael, you'd never come hang out with me at McDonald's, but I could maybe convince you if we were gonna be here tonight to come watch the game with me tonight at Buffalo Wild Wings. It's a place I like to be. So if I didn't own it, I might go there and have a beer, eat some wings, and watch games anyway. So that's why Buffalo Wild Wings, why I got in it. And then like anything else, it can become mundane. Like being an operator, you know, wasn't really passionate. I didn't have a passion for it the same way until I realized through all the philanthropic stuff that we do that, oh wow, man, I don't sell chicken and beer, I develop young people. And I got really passionate about that. That endeared us to, you know, nonprofits, especially in and around South LA, and to elected officials. And when the social equity ordinance was passed last year, I had an elected official call me and ask me to get involved, to take a look at it. So I hadn't really smoked weed or you know, medicated since college. Really, this wasn't part of my daily get down. I'd never been in a dispensary until November. But I was fascinated about the possibility of legislating new industry that was flush with resources and possibility, and underserved people who have been underloved, undereducated, under-resourced, to maybe have the potential to take advantage of this opportunity. So, you know, in America, I think you gotta compete, you know, to win. It's not about a handout. We have so many American poor people who don't inherently believe and don't really have a good reason to believe in their own value. And so if you can create an apparatus that says there are resources on the end of this stick that have the ability to at the end of this opportunity, or in this opportunity, that have the ability to change outcomes for your family for generations, right? If you show up and do this, and we got to deal with the trauma, we got to deal with all of the reasons why you're currently uncompetitive, but there has been legislated an opportunity to improve outcomes. And you know, I'm a believer in improving outcomes from the bottom up, not necessarily trickling down, right? So that's just my philosophy. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe both politically and in terms of my business acumen, you know, I can lead an effort and enroll a team that believes in that why, and figure out if we can do something that's going to improve outcomes in LA with resources for people who've been marginalized. And that, to me, that's super sexy.
So the name of your new company is Fourth Wave, is that correct?
Fourth Movement. Yeah.
Fourth Movement, and there's a lot of great company names, but the story behind this name gave me goosebumps just listening to it. So I'd love you to tell the crowd, you know, what is Fourth Movement mean?
Yeah. So Dr. King was describing a symphony, and he talked about how for him, if it was the symphony of the existence of like African Americans in LA, the first movement in that symphony would be the abolition of slavery, and the second would be civil rights, and the third would be voting rights, and the fourth would be economic parity. And so, you know, this industry right now is presenting an opportunity, I think, everywhere around the country, specifically where there are people of color in municipalities that are legislating the opportunity around cannabis as it comes online. They're looking at social equity programming and, you know, legislation in order to attempt to create possibility and opportunity. So. Now, there's a lot of great nonprofits, a lot of great programs that are out there that have the, you know, that can help people move along. Not a lot of them are attached to real resources. And, you know, America is about competing in business. And, you know, if you're underprepared to compete, then you need some help. You need some folks that are conscientious, doing the right things for the right reasons to help you be competitive. And we're planning to live in that void.
So tell us how you can live in that void. What is Fourth Movement going to do? Tell us a little bit about your business plan, your big idea, and how it's different from what everybody else is doing. in the for-profit space in the social justice world?
Well, we're raising a lot of money. We've been very successful raising money. And we're going to provide, shared services and help people through the application process. And we're going to, help them do all the things that inexperienced entrepreneurs and business people aren't good at. So, that's HR, it's payroll, it's accounts payable, it's sourcing, it's all of that kind of stuff.
So let's walk through some type of example. Why don't you tell everybody first the classification for the social justice program? There's 3 classifications, are there not?
Yeah, there are 3 different levels of people who will qualify for social equity. And I think the one that we're targeting is the first, and those are people who've been convicted of a cannabis-related crime. It's kind of restrictive because you can't have felonies in other areas, right? So most people, if you got a felony in cannabis, you probably had a felony. It might have been gang-related. District attorneys are pretty good about, they don't just convict you of one thing when there's other things to convict you of. So that eliminates a lot of people. And then the other criteria is income-based. So whether or not somebody is considered low income and has lived in a disadvantaged or in an area of LA, a city of LA that's been disproportionately impacted by the criminal justice system as it relates to the war on drugs.
And is there a 3rd level also where you relate, a family member is related to somebody who's had that experience?
Yeah, there is. That's not where our focus is, and I don't want to give the audience incorrect information, but you can Google social equity and figure out what that is.
Got it. So we talked this morning. We had a panel on the law. We had Senator Bradford,
Yep.
State Senator Bradford, who's also head of the California Banking Committee.
Yep.
And he discussed the social equity program, how California as a state is looking at what Los Angeles is doing
Yep.
in an attempt to expand it beyond what Oakland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles is attempting to do.
Yep.
And the question I asked him was, it's great to award somebody a license, but once you award them a license, where are they going to get the capital to build the business? Where are they going to get the mentorship to teach them what they need to do for success? Is that what Fourth Movement is there for?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's there for. It's one thing. I'm not into mom and pop, right? So, it'll take me the same time to build a Buffalo Wild Wings and do the entitlements and do all that stuff and have a $5.5 million average unit volume. And then it would take somebody down the street to do a Wingstop and do $1 million average unit volume and all that. So I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in helping people compete with anybody else that's out here in the dispensary space. And that means being capitalized, and where to do that means building it, that means operating expenses, that means inventory, and that means all of the different parts of the controls of the business that you have to master in order to compete long term. So that's what we're in the process of aggregating talent around in order to solve that problem.
And that's fantastic. For everybody who isn't aware, a social justice application does not require somebody to own 100% of the license. So the way this program works is an individual who's been adversely affected by the system, by the justice system, can own 51% and then align with an investor or a team like Fourth Movement who can provide the capital, the knowledge, the board of directors, the executive team, the human resources to serve as a educational vehicle, mentorship shop, and team to make sure that that individual succeeds. And that's what's so beautiful about it. So when you hear social justice, it does not limit the investment potential just because you are not a minority or you've not served time for selling weed. What it means is that you can get behind an individual who has been adversely affected, and you can invest either in that individual or you can invest in a group like Fourth Movement who will go, and the goal is to acquire how many licenses are you going after? Well, how many licenses are being issued?
Yeah, so there's, the city of LA, they passed an ordinance, said they're going to have one license for every 10,000 residents in the city. There's 4.5 million residents, 450 licenses.
And is that across all areas of grow, manufacture, distribution?
No, it's
retail?
just dispensary.
Just dispensary.
Just dispensary. So there'll be approximately 450 licenses. And then they, they grandfathered in the pre-ICO Prop D dispensary licensees, and there's about 145, 147 of them. And then the ordinance says for every one of them that were issued, there's going to be 2 social equity licenses in the dispensary space. And so that means there's going to be 300 social equity licenses within the city limits of LA, and only 150, quote unquote, let's just call them regular licenses. 147 of which are already kind of spoken for. So that's where the opportunity is, and we'll see. We'll see how many people we can attract, that we can qualify, that might make sense for us to partner with, go into business with, and invest in.
How are you finding these potential applicants?
That's a great question. So, churches, we got a great relationship with. So I'm entrenched in South LA. Do a lot of philanthropy around anti-recidivism, probation youth. So, that's one of the things where kind of cultural competency comes into play. So where are the people that are low income, that have been in LA, but that still have the acumen to maybe, run retail and own and that are trainable? You have to kind of know that. And so it's really a lot of personal relationships versus really kind of putting out a massive call and you need it in this way. It's not that kind of thing. So I need to know who you are, make sure you qualify, and make sure that you're in this for the long haul. Because it's not just about the money. Like being able, anybody can do any business, right? If you just had the bread to invest in it, and this is not a passive investor play. This is you're going to take ownership of the results that come out of this business, and in order for you to lead a dispensary that has 25, 35 team members, employees, you got to be a great leader. And that means you got to be working on your own trauma. You got to be able to communicate effectively. And the majority of these people that are going to qualify for social equity have experienced a tremendous amount of trauma in their life. And that's a big part of what it is that people have to be willing to do is overcome their trauma. We can help them begin to facilitate that. You can't be a leader if you're not working on yourself.
Of course. So you're actively looking for qualified candidates right now. So is there something that we can tell the audience if they know somebody who's been affected by the justice system, and how they can contact you, or what they should do, or is there a process? Do you have a vehicle where people can communicate?
Yeah, so we will. I think social equity applicants are going to begin to be accepted on the dispensary side. The other, phase 2 they announced around social equity with respect to cultivation, manufacturing, and all that is July 15th. But it's later in the year for dispensary, and so we're going to start, literally our website, and people to be able to reach out to us in August. So we're building all of that right now. But in the meantime, man, Instagram, man, DMing me is the best way to reach me, and I'm at Kareem Webbs. And also to follow the story, because we're capturing it.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Fantastic having you here. Thank you for everything you're doing. And I gotta say, I hope my son has just a few of the qualities that you have.
Thank you, Michael, man. I appreciate you.
Great human being.
Yeah, I've got a question. So we're designing dispensaries through architecture, working with a couple of companies in Washington, Colorado, and elsewhere. And what we are exploring is trying to figure out how does culture and commerce come together to create a social experiment that happens in this kind of post-prohibition cannabis world. And I think so much of the stuff that you're talking about today in regards to social equity and places that you're working, you have such strong culture. And talk about the future of dispensaries in those areas. What is the culture? What is the space? What might the environment be that is different than just a place where you can go and pick up some edibles or pick up some baked juice or whatever it is? Is there something that you're really looking at tapping into that culture and really putting that in the forefront?
I think that's a great question. I think with any new enterprise, the first thing you have to do is really your brand work. And we're in the process of doing that. And that brand identity work really kind of helps you determine, okay, so what does this dispensary experience really look like? that will help social equity people, you know, facilitate that experience, and you know, how do we talk about this and all of that stuff. So we're in that process, but it's that question is part of the question that we're in the process of trying to answer ourselves.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Sure.
I guess, are you only working with retail licenses, or are there other spots in the supply chain? And if not, are there any other organizations that are considering things like cultivation principally, or manufacturing as well?
Well, so the social equity program is in the city of Los Angeles. So I don't know how much sense it really makes to be investing in cultivation within the city limits of Los Angeles. I mean, just in terms of cost of real estate and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm sure on the distribution side, maybe manufacturing, you know, packaging, all that stuff. Yeah, I'm sure that there are folks, but I got a pretty small team, and this is like the first time I've really gone out here publicly and began to start talking about what we're doing. We're just building it, raised a good bit of money, and building a really smart, succinct team to attack the opportunity. So that's what I'd say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Great. Thank you very much. Back to your money. Go for it.
Well, licenses are granted in LA, so right, so they'll issue licenses that are approved and active, so they're not going to be attached to real estate. They know for the majority of social equity applicants, the license is what will give them leverage to be able to go out and raise money, right? So without a license, you can't raise any money. So they're going to issue licenses, from what I understand, and then people will have to get entitled. So you got a license, now you got to go find real estate, get entitled, get ready to open, and then you'll be inspected and ready to open. I mean, inspected and then actually activated, but your license will be approved.
Anybody else? Over here.
Where are you getting your information that they don't have to be tied to real estate in order to be approved for licensing?
The city.
The same for the county as well?
No, the county I think is contemplating how they're going to address social equity now. They haven't really figured out. We've got some interesting opinions as it relates to county supervisors and how that's going to end up playing out, how many licenses that we need and all that stuff. But they're in the process.
Anybody else? Great. All set? Great. Thanks so much again.
Thanks, Mike.